So just very, very excited to be here with you this morning, as always. And on Thursdays, our main man himself, Mr. Christian, is the one that leads the way. Without further ado, Mr. Christian, the baton is yours, brother. Take it away, man.
Awesome. Can you guys hear me all right?
I got you loud and clear.
Cool. All right. Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. I have to do things a little bit different than I normally do. You see my background's a little different because I woke up on Monday and my computer wouldn't turn on. Turns out it was the graphics card. I'm not a computer guy, so I have to unplug my graphics card, which means I can't use my webcam. So I'm on my phone. It's a little bit different. I'll try my best to look at chat when I can. But I also want to be a little more interactive today. I was telling Brock on our Thursday call, we do a call before this meeting. I was telling him one of my fears with these calls is being like underprepared, right? And going through everything I want to talk about and looking down at the clock and it's 8:20. Like, shoot, what do I do for the next 25 minutes? So I always over prepare. And the last few weeks I've taken it right to 8:45. So I don't want to do that anymore. I like the interaction. I like having the back and forth with people. So my goal today is to keep it a little bit shorter, a little bit more concise. And then we're going to open it up for discussion a little bit. So what I want to talk about today is a book that I've been reading. I've mentioned in the past studying Stoicism. And for those of you that don't know Stoicism, it's kind of an ancient philosophy, well, not ancient, a couple thousand years old. And a lot of Stoics, there's a lot of misconceptions about Stoicism. A lot of people think that Stoicism means that maybe you don't have feelings or you don't feel emotions, but what Stoicism really is, it's about accepting what we can control and accepting what we can't control and then doing what we can with what we can control, and not letting our emotions run our days and run our lives and quite frankly ruin our lives. So I'm reading this book. It's called On the Shortness of Life by Seneca. And Seneca is one of the Stoics that most people study, or a lot of people study. And it's a collection of, I think, 3 kind of essays. And I was going to read some quotes from it today, but I want to talk about the first essay in here, which is called On the Shortness of Life. So what this is basically about is living a good life and getting the most out of your life. So he starts by talking about how this essay starts. Is it's a man asking him about basically running out of time in life. And I think that this is a problem that a lot of people have, especially as we get to our older years, is we feel like, we didn't do what we're supposed to do. And a lot of people, as they get closer to their deathbed, they feel a lot of regret for the things they did or they didn't do in their lives. And so he says in this book, I'm gonna do a lot of reading from the book itself, because there's just so many great quotes in this book. So he says, with few exceptions, life ceases for most of us just when it begins. And he talks about how it's not just the unthinking masses that this happens for, that even distinguished men, even people that have good philosophies on life and that understand their lives and are reflective on their lives have this problem too, that their life is just beginning when they get to the end of their lives. And what a sad state to be in, where you live your entire life and then at the end of your life you realize that you didn't do what you want to do. You didn't achieve the things you want to achieve. You didn't fulfill all the desires that you want to fulfill. You didn't spend the time with the people you want to spend the time with. So this is a quote from the book. I'm going to read it. He says, it's not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. It says, life is long enough and sufficiently generous amounts have been given to us for the highest achievements if it were all well invested. But when wasted in heedless luxury and spent on no good activity, we are forced at last by death's final constraint to realize that it has passed away before we knew it was passing. So it is, we are not given a short life, but we make it short, and we are not ill supplied, but we are wasteful of it. And he goes on to talk about how he compares it to wealth, and he talks about giving wealth to people that don't know how to use it, they're going to squander that wealth. And he talks about how even when people who are good with wealth, good with money, even when they have a small amount, they know how to make good use of that. So they're able to turn that small amount of money and get the best use of it, to expand it, to grow it. But even those people that have tons of wealth that don't know how to use it properly waste it. And it made me think about the lottery winners, right? Everyone knows about these lottery winners who are, generally speaking, they're not rich people. Rich people don't typically play the lottery too much. But I mean, I guess it's the law of averages, right? The person that's most likely to win the lottery, since there's not a whole lot of rich people, the people that are most likely to win are going to be the people that are not as good with money. But that's now neither here nor there. The point being is that people win the lottery and they win millions and millions of dollars. And you look at pro athletes too, right? Millions and millions of dollars they make, and they're broke within a year or 2 years. I heard the other day that Evander Holyfield, one of the best boxers of all time, he lives in an apartment. And it's because some people don't understand how to manage wealth. They don't know how to take care of it and be good stewards of their wealth. But people who don't make a lot of money, who are good stewards of their wealth, are able to expand it and grow it. And I mean, I know this from my own personal life. In my previous job, I made decent money, but I didn't make a lot of money. I made like 50 something grand a year. But I was able to save, because I'm a good steward with my money. I was able to save 2 years worth of salary, 3 years worth of salary actually, before we moved out here, which allowed me to move out here to North Carolina. But even though I had a small amount, because I was a good steward of that money, I was able to grow it and use it in a proper way. So he uses this analogy to talk about uh, to talk about uh, time as well. It's the same exact thing with time, right? Another quote from the book. He says, "You must not think a man has lived long because he has white hair and wrinkles. He has not lived long. He has just existed long." Excuse me, guys. I gotta keep an eye on my time here. He has just existed long. So same thing, these quotes in this book, they just really hit me when I'm reading this and I'm thinking about my life and how I'm spending my life. He says, certain people reveal the most stupid indignation. They complain about the pride of their superiors because they do not have time to give them an audience when they wanted one. But can anyone dare to complain about another's pride when he himself has never had time for himself? Yet whoever you are, the great man has sometimes gazed upon you, even if his look was patronizing. He has bent his ears to your words and he has let you walk beside him, but you never deign to look at yourself or listen to yourself. And that one really hit me. I had to look at the word deign. It's D-E-I-G-N. I'm not very smart, so I had to look it up, look up the pronunciation. But what that means is to do something that you feel is beneath you. So in this quote, he's talking about people getting mad. People getting mad. Brock is a busy guy. He's a high achiever, just a high level person. You can't get mad at Brock if he doesn't give you enough time, if you're not willing to give yourself time. And most people in their lives, they're not willing to give themselves the time. They're not willing to sit down, to reflect, to read 10 pages in the morning, which takes them 10 minutes. They're not willing to journal. They're not willing to write their goals. They're not willing to review their goals every day. But they want these people that are successful, that are high level people, to give them the time to teach them how to do this and how to do that. But they're not willing to give themselves their own time. This is kind of a theme throughout this talk on the shortness of life. He has this idea. He says people will basically go to war to protect their property and their money, the material things in their life, the things they worked for, but they squander the one thing they should be greedy of, their time. He talks about this pretty consistently throughout this essay on the shortness of life, about being greedy with your time. And I want to clarify here, because if we think about this on like a surface level, we might say, oh, well, we shouldn't be greedy with our time, because then, we're not spending time with our kids and our wife and whatnot. That's not what he's talking about. When he says be greedy with your time, he's not talking about going to dinner with your spouse when you don't really feel like going to dinner with your spouse, because that's life enriching. What he's talking about is, in our modern world, the type of people who sit there and scroll on their phone on Facebook, and before they know it, 5 minutes has gone by and they've given their time to Facebook. They're not greedy with their time when it comes to Facebook. and they're scrolling and 10 minutes goes by and you go, oh, and I'm guilty of this too, guys. I'm preaching to myself here. They go, next, let me check Instagram. Scroll, scroll, scroll. 5 minutes goes by, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Oh, something must have changed on Facebook. Let me go back to Facebook. Boom, 5, 10 minutes. You have to be greedy with your time. And when we say be greedy with your time, it means you need to be conscious of your time and where you're spending it, and be purposeful with your time. Because understand that Facebook, Instagram, all these companies, they have PhDs. They have some of the smartest people in the world that study psychology, and their entire job is, how do I get this person to spend more time on this app? How do we create dopamine hits to get this person more hooked on our apps? And they are stealing your time. So you have to do what you have to do to beat them. And it might be very difficult to actually beat these person at their own game. So you might need to do something that you might need to get out of their game, stop playing their game, uninstall the app from your phone, log out on your browser, so that there's just a little bit more resistance to when you're going to check it out. When that dopamine hit comes in your brain, when you think, oh, I'm a little bit bored, let me go check Facebook, let me go check Instagram. Make it a little bit more difficult to do that, so that you're not mindlessly scrolling, giving away your time to a company that doesn't care about your time. When, look, everybody can look at their phone, go to your usage. You can see how much time you spend on Facebook. You can see how much time you spend on YouTube, how much time you spend on Instagram, right? What if that time was more purposeful? It was given to your family, to your kids, to taking your kid to soccer practice, to watching those games, to watching the practice, to spending time with your spouse, right? We need to be more purposeful with our time and more greedy with our time. So he says, why does this happen? Why do people do this? Why is there this tendency to give away our time, to not be greedy with our time? He says, we are living life as if we will live forever. You act like mortals in all that you fear, and immortals in all that you desire. Powerful stuff. You act like immortals in all that you desire. You act like there's always going to be time to do what you want to do. I've wanted to go skydiving since I was like 16 years old. I'm 35 years old. I've still never gone skydiving. Why not? $150. Why not? Because I'm acting like I have infinite amount of time to do what I want to do. There's certain things in your life you just need to do. You need to put aside the time to go ahead and do that. You say, I can't do this, I can't do that, it'll kill me. But you can't just put off what you want to do in your life, the important things in your life, for tomorrow, because we don't know if tomorrow is going to come, right? He also talks about how people wait to begin their life until they retire, right? They say, when I'm 50 years old, I'll do this and I'll do that. Seneca asks, he says, aren't you ashamed to keep only the remnants of your life, right? At the end of our life, we say we'll start living when we're 50 years old. He talks about how many people don't even make it to that age, yet our entire lives, we put off living our lives until we potentially get to an age where we can actually live and do what we want to do. Now, I know that everybody has to work, right? We have to make a living. We have to provide for our families, but there is time in everybody's day to work towards doing what they actually want to do with their life, to spend time doing what they want to do. All right, I'm almost done here. He says, this is a quote from the book, if each of us could have a tally of his future years set before him as we could our past years, how alarmed would those who saw only a few years ahead, and how carefully they used them. One of the things that really struck me, especially when I was working my day job, was this line from the book. And I think a lot of people live this life. I know we're all we're all entrepreneurs here, but he says, people lose the day. They lose their day in waiting for the night, and lose the night in fearing the dawn. So all day they're at work and they say, I can't wait till nighttime. I can't wait till I'm off work. I can't wait till I get to relax. And then they get home and the rest of the day is spent saying, oh my gosh, I'm dreading going to work tomorrow. Oh man, I wish this night would be longer. I'm gonna stay up later because I'm trying to prolong and put off going to work tomorrow. So they waste the entire night being worried about work tomorrow. And I think about this with people going on vacation, right? You go on a 2-week vacation, and leading up to the vacation, you're spending all your time waiting for that vacation, waiting for the leisure. And then you're on your vacation and you go, oh, I've only got 3 days left. Oh, I've only got 2 days left. Oh, tomorrow I have to go back. And you waste the time on your vacation because you're worried about the time that's passing instead of just living life in the moment and enjoying the time that you have. So that is it for me today, guys. Like I said, I wanted to keep it a little bit shorter. It's 8:33. I wanted to open it up for anyone that has discussion. For those of you that didn't notice, Brock had to take off because he has a EXP meeting, had one at 8:30. So he's long gone today. So it's just me running the ship. I want to open it up for anyone that wants to talk. A little bit disjointed today, but like I said, I'm trying to keep this a little bit shorter to open up for more discussion because I really like the back and forth with people. So,
yeah, Christian, what was the name of that book? Can you type that in chat? I'd like to check that out.
I can't type it, but I'll put it in the group afterwards. It's called On the Shortness of Life by Seneca.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. Anybody else have anything to add or contribute, or any thoughts on what we're talking about today? Thank you, Chad. Chad put it in the chat for us.
Yeah, I think that's important. Just we all are wired wide open, right? We're running on the inside of our calling, and we go, and sometimes, man, we need these little nuggets and reminders to slow down and be where our feet are.
Mm-hmm.
And so many times we get caught up in that routine. And the big thing is when we're in that routine, we just feel like, hey, that's what we're supposed to be doing. And it is. But we got to be present too and not miss the blessings that are right in front of us. So I appreciate you. I wrote a bunch of this stuff down, man. I know that there's usage metrics on my phone, but now I can look at that and that'll probably make me sick, and I'll be proactive in working on that. And the fact that when I'm talking to people too, that last line that you closed with, a lot of people waste the day looking forward to the night just to chill. But then at the night, they're dreading the next day.
Yep.
So, man, that's good. Good stuff. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the input. Thank you, Maritza. Thank you, Amy. I appreciate that as well. I want to give you guys one more tip that I learned from my buddy. This is a really good one, Chad. You're going to like this one also. There is a mode on your guys' phone. Everybody's phone has it where you could put your phone into grayscale. And for those of you who don't know photo stuff, grayscale is black and white. And the reason we can do this, and the benefit of this, is when you put your phone in grayscale, the colors tone down. It's not as appealing to our eyes to look at black and white. So it makes you you don't get the same level of excitement and dopamine in your brain as you do when you're looking at bright, colorful pictures. Imagine scrolling through Instagram and all the pictures are black and white and they're kind of boring looking, right? You're not going to scroll as much through Instagram. So that is a very helpful tip as well. I don't do it all the time, but I did notice when I did do the grayscale, my phone usage went down tremendously, like cut in half almost immediately. So that's a little tip for you guys as well. 8:36. We got 10 more minutes, guys. Who else has something to say? I open it up today for more discussion. So let's talk.
Sorry,
Oh,
I just
make it so
realized that I was muted. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Just wanted to say thanks. And I feel like I'm kind of on the opposite end, maybe because I'm an older dog. And so actually almost 2 years ago, whenever I felt like everybody on social media they were just ugly. I mean, they were just mean. And I felt like I was almost absorbing that. Like it was impacting my day, and you kind of get pulled into that rabbit hole, and all of a sudden you are 100 miles down that rabbit hole and you can't get out, and you just go on. And it was causing me to not be productive in my day and still carrying along that negative impact. And so I completely pulled back. And there's very little that you will see on my Facebook It's really sporadic. And so I have started to make some changes because I started to realize, number one, people don't even know what I do anymore because I
Mm.
pulled so far back out of it that they just had no idea what was even going on with me. So I've started to make some changes with that. But I found that the longer I've been out of it and I've stayed away from it and I don't check it, but I will go days without even looking at it. Um, I found that I have the reverse. It's almost harder for me to get back in there and do those posts and try to find that balance between wasting too much time on it and at least doing enough so that I'm in people's minds whenever they need a TC or whenever they need an agent or whatever, because they forget whenever they don't
Yeah.
see you. But I kind of have found it harder to drop back in because I just separated myself out so much from it. So I
Yeah.
think it's kind of it can have the reverse as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that, it's the important key is to be intentional with it. And that's kind of what he's talking about here is you can do what you want to do, but you have to be intentional with it, because it's when we're unintentionally scrolling mindlessly, that's where Facebook is stealing our time. And we need to be more greedy with our time. And if you're intentional about posting business stuff, then that's fine. But the problem for a lot of people and me is I say, hey, I'm gonna go post something on Facebook, and 10 minutes later I'm sitting there scrolling, reading who knows what, and I'm like, what the hell am I doing? And then there's this, like I said, there's this idea that, okay, let me go check Instagram real quick. Okay, let me go check Twitter. And I found myself, because I like politics. I've liked politics since I was young. Twitter is like a hellhole for politics, because I would just go from like persons, like I have like 10 accounts that I follow. I would just like cycle through them. Oh, done all 10. Let me go back to the first one. And it would be like late at night. And I'm sitting there on my phone, like, what is going on? So I think the big key is we have to be intentional. And if you're using it intentionally for business, yeah, that's a proper way to use it. As long as we know what we're doing, so thank you for your input. I appreciate it, Lori. Let me see. I'm going to try to open up the chat. I saw somebody put something, but I can't really see it. Sorry, guys.
Hey, Christian, it's Dee.
Hey, Dee, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. Thanks for asking.
This was fantastic and perfect timing in my life. I'm north of 50 and actually walking through life with my parents who are in their 80s, their mid 80s and end of life, if you will.
Mhm.
And just talking about the time that we are reflecting on the times that we did spend together, the fun, the joy, and it makes me reflect on what's going on in my life and how am I spending my time and who am I giving it to, and is that a quality purpose for me?
Yeah.
But my husband, he deleted his Facebook account because he was that person that was walking around looking at Facebook all the time and not
Mhm.
being present, and it was hurting our marriage.
Mm.
So I totally agree with toning things down, and I don't do as many posts as I used to. I don't think I need all that affirmation, from people I don't even know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is fantastic. I will go get that book.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. It's I'm gonna put it up here so you guys can see what it looks like. It's very short, guys. It's small, and like I said, there's like 3 essays in here. Um, the one I was reading was not the shortness of life. It was on tranquility, and it really spoke to my heart. So I'll talk to that about that another time. I'm not really quite ready for it. I'm still digesting my thoughts on that, but I'll go into that a little bit more. Dee, one thing that I thought of while you were talking about your parents and spending time with them is I saw a really interesting way to look at that situation. I want to share it with everybody here. They said that people will often with their parents in particular, this guy was talking about, he'll say, my parents, whatever, my dad's 70 years old. He's probably got 10 more years to live, right? And that gives them the ability to push off spending time with their dad or their mom. But he said the proper way to look at it is to say, hey, I see my dad 3 times a year, 4 times a year, whatever, let's say it's once a quarter. I see my dad 4 times a year. Let's say he has 10 more years. That's only 40 more times I get to see my dad. Or if I only see him once a year and he's got 10 years, that's only 10 more times I get to spend with my parents. So it puts it in a different perspective when we say 10 years and it seems like so much time and like, oh, I can put off calling that person or reaching out to that person. But if we put it in the perspective of, I only see him once a year, or twice a year, that's only 20 more times to see this person that I care about. So just a mindset shift to, put things into perspective a little bit. Let's see, what time are we at, guys? We are at 8:43. Does anybody else have anything to input before we sign off for the day? I'll let it be silent here for a little bit if nobody has anything to say. Sorry, I wasn't able to interact.
I just want to say to you, man, good morning to you, brother.
Good morning.
It's not, coming out here and doing these things and, putting yourself out there isn't easy. And, you come on every week and doing that. And, there are some things to take from it. And I just know for me that, I couldn't embrace that. I understand it, but I can't embrace it. Stoicism is basically falls under what's called pantheism. Pantheism is, and that person is a pantheist. So you have to understand the origin. I always look at the origins of things and where they come from so I can understand what it is. And so,
Porque acuérdate que en el carro y en la escuela no puedes comer.
exactly. So, and we have an interpreter online. So,
that's good.
pantheism is basically this is saying that the cosmos and everything around it, animate objects are a substitute for who God is. And I didn't want to get into that debate, but understanding what that is. But as far as time is concerned, because you made an interesting point about that you were a good steward with your money. And that is a key point, because you need to ask yourself, what does you being a good steward, what does that mean? Because there's an interesting parable that is in Luke, and Jesus talks about how a rich man took everything that he had and he stored it in his barn. All he was doing was putting things in his barn, and he wasn't sharing, but he became very wealthy, but he never shared it with anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And there were people that were around him that were suffering and that needed food, and he kept it for himself, but yet he felt that he was doing right because he was taking all of this stuff and putting it into his barn. So one of the questions that we need to ask ourselves, so even with time and with money, is that what are we doing with it? What is the purpose of it? Are we sharing it with others? Are we sharing our time with others, or are we keeping it for ourselves? Because I'm going to get into this in a podcast pretty soon. I talked about this before. It's called God and Money. Okay. And I'll just quickly read this to you. There was a gentleman who in 1973, his name was Howard Dayton. So he actually was an atheist, right? If you know what an atheist is, they don't believe in God. So he basically went through the study of the Bible of every reference that related to money. And so he characterized, there were 2,350 verses on money into a single topical index. And so he says that as he told us that he came out and said that the study radically and permanently changed me, saying him, Howard Dayton, from worshiping money to serving Christ. Having served as the leader on both Crown Financial and Compass Ministries, Howard has helped over 50 million people with biblical truth about money, which is interesting because there are people who will reject they will reject it until they get into it and look at it and how it radically changed their lives. Mm-hmm. And so he wasn't coming in there to try I don't think he was looking at it to determine whether or not of knowing that he was going to be a believer or not, but that's what happened. So
Yeah.
I just find that to be interesting, that people will go into certain something to try to pull something out. Maybe he was going in there to try to say, well, this is what I'm going to go in here to see if I can really pull out what really isn't true. And it turned out to be the other way. So, but I guess the point is this morning to you, Christian, is, you're my brother, that I think it is important. It's important of valuing time and money, but really how we use it.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Yeah, and being purposeful. What a hats off to that gentleman for, you see like a lot of studies and stuff, and it's funny when you look at scientific studies where they go in with a clear bias, and the whole study is designed around confirming what they already believe and what they already want it to say. So hats off to him for being open to see what was actually there and interpreting it as it was. So thank you for your input, Greg. I always appreciate it. And thank you everybody for being on this call. We will be back. Like I said, Brock is gone. He's doing a speech in the EXP world. So we will be back at 8:15 tomorrow morning. And I appreciate everyone's input today. Like I said, I want to keep it a little bit shorter to switch it up. I don't like taking all the time. So I'm gonna keep my stuff more concise so that we can have more discussion, because I like this stuff. Thank you, Sherry. Thank you for everybody. Hope you all have a great day, and we will see you tomorrow at 8:15 for Figure It Out Friday. It's gonna be fun. See you guys.